We're here today to talk about Hustler Rave and interview you, my friend and fellow collaborator. Um, First question is, was your childhood so fucked up you started to write?
Partially. I did experience a lot of unpleasant things in my childhood. I think everybody does in their own way. I think it's very relative. Considering that my childhood occurred where and when it did, at an early age, I had to learn how to deal with very difficult circumstances. Divorce, domestic abuse at home, drug abuse, a number of things that I write honestly about. So I think that I've always been attracted to difficult subject matter, or subject matter that makes people uneasy, because I'm sort of fascinated by complexity. I don't like, in regard to writing, writing that doesn't challenge something in some way, that just stays in this very safe territory and giving the people what they want. I think good writing should stir up uncomfortable emotions in the person that's reading it. It should affect people viscerally. And so as a result of having a very dramatic childhood, I think that I took shelter in the arts, first music, and finding different ways to channel that, what could be negative energy or confused energy, and reshaping it into something positive. It's sort of an alchemical process. I can't say that my life now is anywhere as I've got different challenges as an adult, but yeah, I would say having an unusual childhood, having a very dramatic childhood, led to being creative, and that path has left me at writing via photography and music before that.
Edwidge Dandicat, in her one of her most recent books, I forgot which one is it. It's a book on writing. She says that she writes dangerously for people who read dangerously. Mm-hmm. I believe I've been following your career as a writer, and I believe you fit into that mold, and I like it. So, second question, how does personal experience translate into this book, particularly?
A lot of it.
Just not just dressing up as a clown and pissing on all men.
I wouldn't. I didn't even mention that in the intro because that to me was very comical. And Spittles the Clown was an invention of mine that I used for dark comedy, and that's very different from this. I wanted to explore a very noir realism, which I've done before. In my first book, which may be republished, I approached similar subject matter, because those were the years when after I came out in my early 20s, I was living in Portland, Oregon, after having grown up in the Bronx, and entering that gay underworld and all of the different tributaries of underground gay drama and the sex industry, and knowing and partying and just experiencing the lives of people that were working as street hustlers. A lot of them were friends of mine or kids that I went to school with that wound up in the gay scene. And I just, I've always been a very observant person. Even during those years, I was, drinking a lot and doing lots of drugs and stuff. But I was also studying people, even when I didn't realize it, and just sort of recording it and storing it somewhere up there. And I don't know. Some of the poems I invented scenarios, like I would just invent a character like Jocelyn Ann, who's a transgender African-American woman, street hustler, who's forced to basically save her own life by murdering a client who has found out her secret and is threatened to kill her first. And I wanted to compose very short, intense dramas in the form of poetic vignettes. Because, and in the intro, I admit that I never worked as a street hustler per se. I'd been offered money and other things when I was younger by men who were trying to lure me into a sexual situation, but I actually didn't hustle. It was the other way around. So I understand from the point of view of being objectified when you're younger by someone older, and the relationship of them paying you for something or giving you something or bribing you is usually what happened. Combined with my imagination, and I've read a lot of books in the gay canon, especially John Ritchie's City of Night always comes up, about the world of hustling. I wanted to write stuff that was more complex than the young bloke with a nice body, being paid by the fat old man. I mean, everything is more complex than the stereotype, and I wanted to push it a little further. And this gave me the chance to do it. So it was a combination of things that I had already known, and certain memories that came back to me of people that I knew in the underground gay scene, and things that I just invented. I love inventing characters. So it was the perfect opportunity to do that.
All right, the final question that I got for you. You talk about noir realism.
Yeah.
Can you describe it for me? What is noir realism?
I'm using it to approximate something, and I may be...
So you made up?
I may be made up. It may be just my own language. Noir realism...
Because there is something in Spanish that is quite similar to what I think you're trying to describe.
Tell me what that is after, because this is what I'm trying to get at, and what I've always been attracted to, is when the sun sets, and the day people and families and everyone goes to sleep, a different portion of society wakes up and lives this very nocturnal life. And they sort of trade places, as do like animals in nature. And the nighttime has its own economy. The nighttime has its own laws of attraction and perils and ecstasies. There's this wide range of dramatic emotions and possibilities. The noir realism, I would say the poem that I was most conscious of that combination of words and what they mean to me was my very first time, Seattle, 1989, where this kid who's run away, we don't know why, I didn't want to get into why he ran away, there could be a million reasons. He's 15 years old, he gets lured into a park by this handsome older man who basically shoots him up with heroin for the first time and takes him back to a dingy hotel, has sex with him while the kid's passed out, and then refuses to pay him when the deed is done until the kid pulls a knife on him. That, to me, is a combination of those two words. I wanted to make it really realistic. I didn't want to add these layers of fantasy and surrealism. Tell it as it is, how a camera would see it if it were filming it, without any effects. So I don't know. When I say noir realism, I have an idea of what that is, but I don't know if you were to go to a literary criticism book and
I think
try to look it up. I don't know if it really exists. I'm not the only person who's attracted to this stuff, but
I think you're the first one who has put it in words. I had never heard of a realism of the night. I was going to tell you earlier that in Spanish literature there is something known as realismo sucio, dirty realism, which deals with hyper-realism and hyper-realistic description. But in reality, realismo sucio encompasses not only night but day situations. So I think you might be making something new.
I may have seen that somewhere and just, stored it.
It's kind of like a study of the night. It's really nice, actually.
I like it.
Well, folks, that's all, and we'll be creating new videos, hopefully one more, reading material for Hustler Rave XXX, Poetry of the Eternal Survivor. So this is me, David Caleb Acevedo, interviewing Charlie Vazquez, poet extraordinaire from New York, and that's it.